You can't measure the anger, frustration and utter contempt for former Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews and his arrogant appearance at a military parade in Beijing this week, posing for happy snaps with, among others, Vladimir Putin and China's President Xi, plus various other international despots and dictators. Andrews, in typical style, released some sort of a mealy-mouthed justification. He dragged, for some reason, in former New Zealand Prime Ministers and a Malaysian political figure to somehow explain away why he was there, how he, and not them, appeared in what is in reality a photographic snapshot of the most terrible people in the world that you should not be mixing with. The man who locked up a capital city longer than any other in the world during COVID and wasted billions of dollars tearing up a road contract and cancelling the Commonwealth Games while contributing to the biggest state debt in the nation, Australia's worst crime crisis and the collapse of business confidence, while overseeing the decline of the status of Melbourne, now has the hide to say he is, quote, deeply honoured to be there in China. As a columnist for The Australian and former Herald Sun editor, Damon Johnson wrote for the Australian newspaper Today, a Dan loyalist summed him up by saying, quote, mate, Andrews doesn't give an F what you guys think, what any journo thinks. He doesn't give an F what anyone thinks. He's out there making millions and having a great life. Now, I don't know how much, if anything, Andrews makes from his China connections, but what I do care about is he is being paid a pension by the people whose lives, in many cases, he contributed to ruining, making them badly destroyed during the hysterical and narcissistic time he served as Premier, especially during COVID. He locked children out of schools and playgrounds. He introduced a completely useless overnight curfew, banned sport, told people working as solo lawnmowers they had to stop. Then he bungled aged care security and then simply upped and walked away. What I also care deeply about is the pathetic responses from his fellow socialist left travellers in Anthony Albanese and his successor, Jacinta Allan. Here was the Prime Minister in question time yesterday when asked about his old flatmate, Dan Andrews.
My position is very, very clear, which is we did not send any government representative because it wouldn't have been appropriate. None of my team would have sat in that position. As simple as that.
Didn't ask a question. OK, so you wouldn't have gone. You didn't send anyone along and Andrews didn't, we don't think, seek your endorsement or permission. But what about saying the bloke showed an appalling lack of judgment, standing with deadly despots on a stage in China to enhance his business prospects? What a weak response that was from a weak Prime Minister. Then we have Premier Allan. I mean, she's worse, probably. She said, quote, it is good for Victoria that Daniel Andrews is held in such high regard by the people of China. Victoria is an old friend of China and these connections are so valuable for our state, end of quote. Good for Victoria? What? Signing up to the Chinese Belt and Road program, whatever that meant, forcing Canberra then to step in and say, no, you can't do that. She called him an old friend of China. Please, Jacinta, show some courage. The bloke was on a stage with Vladimir Putin, who is currently running an invasion of Ukraine where tens of thousands of men, women and children have been killed, murdered, burnt to death. Putin, Jacinta. I mean, geez, come on. Are you a serious political leader or a puppet of your former boss? Do you not realise how despised he is and that endorsing this China visit, you will be seen as much as bad as him? Then we had Foreign Minister Penny Wong. She was out speaking today in Japan, and when asked by Sky News what she thought about the disgraceful decision by Andrews to take part in that photo, we got this.
And obviously I speak for Australia and for the Australian government. I don't speak for private individuals, but I would so hope that we all should be mindful of the message that our presence and engagement sends.
Pathetic. Penny Wong, the Foreign Minister. I don't comment on private individuals. You're the Foreign Minister. You've got an Australian and a former Premier, someone with still some political influence, wandering around Beijing, shaking hands with murderers and despots, and you say you don't comment on private individuals? I mean, Dan Andrews and Premier Allan have overseen the decline of a once great state that is now a crime-ridden basket case, an economic failure and a socially unsafe place to live. Their federal factional supporters, like the Prime Minister and Wong, refuse to even be critical of what that pair have done. Congratulations to you all.